Okay, let's start the stream. How are you guys? I'm doing well today. Let's just get rid of that. Today I think I'm going to work a little bit on random tile variations. So basically I want to make it so that for every tile coordinate we take those x and y values of the coordinate and we're going to turn them into a pseudo-random number. And we're going to use that number to index into one of several different variations of the same tile. So I'm going to try to make the system so that every tile will have one or more variations. And then we'll use this random number to index into those. I don't know how far I'll get today with this. The stream is going to be a bit shorter. I'm going to end the stream in even less than 2 hours, because I have somewhere I need to go today. Unfortunately, these things just sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Sometimes there's errands to run, things to do. I should really update my project thing, because the backlog is getting a bit empty and it's only containing large, difficult problems. So I kinda need to think about how I'm going to approach those larger issues. Maybe break them down into smaller problems. I'm not entirely sure what I should be working on in the near future. But yeah, today I want to work on tile variations, and some of that is already in the code and some is not. So yeah, I'm gonna see how far I can get today. If anyone is watching, of course, feel free to ask me questions or just tell me about your day or whatever. So I'm going to open Unity and I'm going to dive into the code. But yeah, what do I want to do first? I might want to do the tile variations first, the actual texture, because that's kind of a minimum requirement, having actual tile variations. Tile stone. Let's make a PNG out of this. Or let's make a GIMP file for that. So this is stone tile. Right now we have just one variation, which is this one. I want to put multiple variations into one texture. So this is going to be the original. And I think I'm going to duplicate this one. And maybe duplicate another one. Let's see. Tile stone. One. 2. Let's make this one 0. So now we have 3 of those. I'll just add a guide here. And I'm going to expand the canvas. So right now we have a width of 16. And I want to take this to 32. Add another guide and expanded it again. Add 16 more, that becomes 40, 48. So this should now contain 3 variations. So let's move those layers, if we can, actually. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So now let's add another layer. I'm just going to paint over it with like 1. So I'm just going to add some numbers so we can actually see which variation we are drawing. Is that a good one? Maybe it is. Yeah, that seems fine. It doesn't really need to be all that interesting. This is 2. So now if I'm not mistaken, we should be having 3 tile variations. Yeah, let's save that as tile stone XCF. Then export it as a PNG. Okay. So now we might get messed up stuff, but yeah. So that's kind of what I expected. Now we need to ensure that the game knows about how many variations we have. We need to figure out the UVs for each variation. Tower in the system. That's one. That is the one. So this is where we will render tiles. We'll probably have to change a few bits here eventually. But right now I just want to make sure that the tile variants, all this UV data is being stored correctly. Let's see. How did we do this? Yeah. tile data will get set from somewhere. It's over here. Where is it being created again? Oh yeah, this is where our tile data is created. Basic game mod. I'll probably have to move that somewhere else eventually. Yeah. So here we have new tile variant 1. Let's see. Why is this a 1? Oh, because it's only containing one element. And it will take the... Oh yeah, it will take the tile. The tile has a sprite UV. So that's basically the UV of the entire image we just had. So sprite UV is like this entire region. So we want to cut that up into smaller chunks. Right now it's just saying, well, we have one tile variant and that's gonna be the same as this entire region, because before now we had we only had one tile variant for all the tiles. So now I should change this so it becomes a bit more interesting. Let's see. For that I need to have some kind of variable or property in the blocks. To determine how many variants we have. I could also derive it from the dimensions of the texture. That's another thing we could do. Actually, that might be a lot easier, because then you like there's two ways we can approach this. We can have some kind of property or variable, like some integer called number of tile variations. This could be defined somewhere in the block information. Or we could just simply calculate it on the spot from the dimensions of this region. Like if the ratio is larger than x, then it's gonna be yeah. I think we can like divide the height by the width to get some kind of ratio, or yeah, maybe something like that. So let's try to calculate n variants. That should be 1 right now. But of course, we're going to change that. Yeah, let's figure out if we can determine some kind of formula. So basically Let's get a calculator. Or maybe something like Excel would be more appropriate. I don't know. So this is 24 pixels. This is 16 pixels. So if we do 16 by 24, that's a ratio of 0.666, 2/3. Let's see. So if I take so that's basically 2/3, right? 2 divided by 3 is 0.6666 and an infinite number of sixes. Now if I multiply that by let's see, if I multiply that by 2, then I get 1.3, which is 1. Now if I take the same thing, but instead of 2 divided by 3, I take 4 divided by 3, and I multiply that by what was it? By 2, and I get 2.666. So I think that might be a good way to determine the number of variations we have. Let's just try 2 divided by 3 times 2, 4, 6, 6 divided by 3 is 2 divided times 2 is 4. No, that's not good. How do we turn 2 divided by 3 into 1? 1.5. So if I take 2 divided by 3 times 1.5 is 1. 2 divided by 3. Now 4 divided by 3. 4 divided by 3 times 1.5 is 2. 6. 6 divided by 3 times 0.5 is 3. Yes. So now we have integers that tell us exactly how much how much tile variations we should have based on the dimensions of this image. Cool, that's nice. So basically it's so float ratio is 2 divided by 3 is what we used to use. And of course 2 was the width and 3 was the height. 3 is not going to change much. Dot sprite UV dot width dot sprite UV dot height. And n variance should then be dot round ratio times 1.5. Calculate the number of tile variants in the sprite from the dimensions ratio. Like I could have also just taken like the number of pixels or something, but this way it's independent of the actual resolution of the image. Like if I ever decide I want larger, more detailed tile sprites, then I could just do that, and theoretically nothing should change in this algorithm. It should just keep working because it's not really dependent on the pixel sizes of the sprites. So, n variants. So this should work. Now instead of this whole thing, we need something that loops over the variance. What's wrong here? Oh. The variant index. No, not v the text editor. So for each variant we want to make a new tile variant. Something like this. This belongs outside the loop. Okay, now we just need to change the UVs of this sprite, this tile variant, this subsection basically. And the y value we can just keep as it is, but the x values we're going to have to change. Uh, let's see. Float x offset. It's gonna be tile.sprite uv.width divided by n variance. That's a float divided by an int. So the int gets casted to a float, and then we'll do the division. Maybe this would be more appropriate, variant width as a name for this value. Yeah, might be more appropriate. So plus times variant index Okay, that should work properly, I think. I really hope testing this is not going to be too difficult. If there's a bug in this algorithm somewhere, it's going to be very difficult to figure out what's going wrong exactly. And at the end we set the variance. Yeah, this makes sense. And it's still weird. What could be the problem? Ja? Daar heb ik nu geen zin in. So let's see over here. This is looking quite like I would expect. One thing that I think is weird is that we're getting a lot of ones instead of zeros. We should really be getting a lot of zeros as our dial variations. Strange. Really strange. Let's try this again. So we have 16 and 24. We're having the right stuff. So we're doing width divided by height. So 16 divided by 24 is 2/3. 0.66 times 1.5, that's 1. 0.66 times times 2 times 1.5 is 2. 0.66 times 3 times 1.5 is 3. Yeah, it should work. All width divided by the height. Wondering what's the best way to debug this algorithm to figure out where it's going wrong. Because like, yeah, I could open the debugger, of course, but the raw values, of course, don't tell you much. Round to end, does it round down or does it just round to the nearest? Like, I think it rounds to the nearest, but Unity sometimes has weird behavior. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it rounds to the nearest. So that should work correctly. Oh, I think I get the problem. So now it should work correctly. So the problem was that we took the edge of the larger region instead of uh, instead of the edge of the subregion. So basically we took this edge and then we added some more stuff to it. So that's of course not really going to work as we expected. I think it should be still not really what I expect, I guess. It's still strange. Let's just change this thing so we can paint so that we can paint stone. Oh, so it's taking only half of it for some reason. Let's put shaded wireframe on. We can take a look. Take a bit of a closer look. So yeah, this is a very vertical running edge. So that means it's an edge tile or an edge tile decoration, which is really what this should be. And this entire piece should be a regular center of a tile. So it's like shifted a little bit to the right when it should be more to the left. Okay, that's kinda weird. This is where we want it to be. So sprite uv.x plus variant width variant index. Something is still going wrong here, but it's less wrong than it used to be. Is variant width a good value, actually? So it's stretched pixels are stretched. So yeah, I think we, for some reason, we need to divide this by 2, I guess. Then I wonder why that would be the case, but it's a little bit weird. Oh, that's also not what we want, I guess. Strange. Maybe like this. So it was the other way around. Hey, now we have something. Now I believe we have the correct behavior. Yes, yes, that's it. That is exactly what I wanted. And of course all the current tiles are 0 because we haven't implemented random variations yet. So they are currently all the same variation. But in theory, that entire array of variations and their UVs into the texture atlas should now be correctly filled. So we should be able to use them now. That's nice. Okay, that was easier than I had suspected it was. I was dreading some very long debug sessions. But I still wonder why does this need to be multiplied by 2? I don't really get it. Yeah, that's strange. But I guess we'll start working on this other system. Yeah, right. Now this system is a little bit of a mess. I have a lot of if statements and conditions to determine where certain tile decorators um, should or should not be drawn, and if they should be drawn, for which tile they will be. So it is quite complex logic, and it's been like 1 or 2 weeks since I last worked on this, so it might be a bit tricky to work on, but I'm just going to try it. I already have an integer for variance here, but yeah, there's a to-do here. It looks like it hasn't been used yet. It's assigned, but the value is never used. Yeah, that's why. So I'm going to change this to 1 because I want to see if uh, if the other UV values are also correct. just like the first one. And then I'm going to need to put this somewhere where it actually gets used. And that's in this array accessor. Probably should have done this earlier when I was actually creating this code. Actually, when I was writing this algorithm previously. Otherwise, it would have been a very easy change right now. But alas, I used some magic numbers. Oh no, magic numbers. They are usually not a good idea. You can see there's still some magic numbers here and there. But those are mostly dealing with stuff like offsets and things that are really not all that interesting. They are kind of self-explanatory. Just think about it, how a texture is structured. So yes. You know what? I'm only going to do this for the center tile right now. Because otherwise we might get some we might be trying to access an array that doesn't exist in the corners or the edges on the outside. So right now I only want to do uh, the middle tiles. And we'll probably still get some kind of error. Because right now only stone has a tile variant. And if we try to render now, we will probably get an error because when it tries to render concrete, for example, concrete only has one tile variant. So if variant is 1, then it's going to try to access an element of the array that doesn't exist. So if I choose run now, it will probably give me some kind of out of bounds exception. Or maybe not. This is interesting. But yeah, the concrete is no longer working correctly. That's kind of funny. Why would it pick dirt? Not entirely sure why it does that. This is not important. This is not important. Let's see what changes I made in the system. So only those two, yeah. So right now I'm just going to add a very simple check. Current equals 1, then 1 else 0. So this is a little bit of a hack, but it's to ensure that we only set the tile variant to 1 if we have stone. Yeah, so that's working correctly. Yeah, everything is aligned as it should be. Borders and stuff are still working properly. Instead we have a different kind of tile. So now I need to, in the tile data, I need to store the amount of tiles we have so that the rendering system can actually read that. Where did we change stuff? Main it was. It was in main. Because it still needs to be moved somewhere more appropriate. Over here. No. Wait. Oh. It was in base game mode because I moved all the stuff to base game mode. So D dot. Maybe I can just take the length of the array. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess it does. One modulo length of current. Dot length. So in theory, this should make it so that if the length of the array of variants, so basically if the variance number is, if it's 1, then it will always default to 0, because that will be the only element in the array. And if we'll have more tile variants, then it will be 1, which is the second element in the array, because I put 1 here. If this works, so I wanted to. Oh, that's not exactly correct. That's a little bit odd. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here. And if current equals 2, which is concrete, then I want to know what's happening. Okay, so current is 2. Tile render data. Okay. Orange is 2. 6. Okay, this is weird. 2. Why does it have 6 tile variants? I must have made a mistake somewhere in this. So for air, which should have 1 tile variant, it has 2. For stone, which should have 3, it's 6. So it's basically making 2 for every 1 variant in the list or something. Yeah. That's odd. So something is still going wrong here. So 1.5 is 3 is 3 divided by 2 divided by 2 is 4. Something like this. Really? Let's figure this out. We should also move this. Maybe this is the reason why we had to add this times 2 thing earlier on. It's kind of weird that it's 3 divided by 4. Okay. Rendering is still correct. And now the concrete is also working. So yeah, I believe I fixed that bug. Let's try the third tile variant. Yeah, that's also working properly. Okay. Mm. So now I somehow need to randomize the tiles that are being drawn. Uh, int 2 xy dot get hash coded. Yay! Hooray! We can randomly select, well, pseudo-randomly select a tile variant. But it's not entirely random. Looks like still some kind of pattern. So maybe we want our hash code to be a bit more random, if that makes sense. Let's just paint some terrain over here. Yeah, looks like we have diagonal rows or something. So yeah, we need to change the hash function or use some kind of different randomness thing. Would be good if we can keep it sort of efficient. Right now it's just 32 plus something. Okay. What if I use the same method as I used in this other thing? The chunk. So, no, that's not it. Where did I put that? Chunk key, yes. Yeah, let's try that one. So, int hash is, what was it, 27? 17. Let's see if this works better. It looks more random, I guess. No, we still have we still have a diagonal pattern. Looks like, only this time it's from the bottom left to the top right. Pattern does seem to change occasionally. You know what? Let's just remove the concrete for now. That way we can more easily see any kind of patterns that might emerge without having to do painting by hand. And let's also give each a bit of a color. Uh, let's make this one red. The other one green and blue. Oh. That will make it even easier to see what's going on. Yeah, there's a very, very clear and obvious pattern. Let's just move this text bit. It's a little bit distracting. Okay. This does not work as I want it to. It's not random enough. Of course, hashcode is not really designed to be random, but to actually to space stuff out over a large space. So, for example, this hash function was really designed for optimal use as a hash function in a hash table or dictionary or something like that. So to use it for randomness is a little bit of a hack. it might not be the most correct way to do things. But I do know that Starbound uses something similar, so maybe we can cheat a little bit and see what they do. I don't know if it has been described on the forum post somewhere. Random variant based on X, Y position. Starbound maybe. Coordinates. It's probably not what I want. It's mostly gameplay related stuff. Generating stateless pseudo-random number from 4 integers. This might be what I want. Might be kind of useful. Yeah, but then you need a random number generator. Just want some kind of simple formula. Is that is that so difficult? I mean, it doesn't really need to be very random, just random enough so that we don't get these kind of patterns in our landscape. We could maybe do some bit shifting or something. I don't really know what the consequences of that would be. Yeah. Maybe I should not be using hashcode, but something else. Let's define my own function for this. Private static. Get a random int. X, Y. Maybe we can just do like a XOR. What's this one? Okay, let's see what this does. This is more random, but there's still a lot of patterns in it. What if I do like some bit shifting? Oh, okay, that's interesting. Not really very random though. Okay. Maybe XOR with a large prime number. It's probably going to give some kind of pattern again. Yeah. I just need a few, you know. So this is a large prime. Maybe that will help. Seems to help in encryption. Not really, right? Maybe it's random enough. Yeah, maybe I should just stick with this thing here. Seems pretty random. There's still a few patterns, but to be honest, I don't think it will be too noticeable. If you, well, the only reason it's noticeable right now is because I'm using these bright colors, which make it really easy to distinguish them from one another. But nice pattern here, kind of interesting. Okay, so I think that's a nice wrap-up point. So this we can discard. This we can discard. I don't need to keep that. This is important. This is not really needed. Do I want to keep my PNG? Yeah, maybe I want to. Okay, that's it. I'm really happy with what I achieved in these 2 hours. So, as you heard before, I have something to do today, so I'm going to end the stream a little bit earlier. I don't think it makes much sense to start on a new thing to do right now. I might stream a little bit in the afternoon, but I don't know for sure. It depends on my state of mind at the time. Um, I'm going to have lunch now, and then I'm going to have to go where I need to go, which is in the nearby city. So transport is going to take a while, and then I'll have an appointment with someone. So that's why I'm streaming a little bit less today. I'll be stopping now because I still need lunch before I start heading out of the house. Anyway, if you've been watching, I hope you had a lot of fun, or at least I hope you found it interesting and learned some things. As always, if you have any comments or feedback, please don't hesitate to contact me. There's of course the chat room here on Twitch where you can just talk or ask questions. And since yesterday I also have a Discord which is available. Let me just get a link. Let's see. Should also be in the description of my channel somewhere. Should also be in the description of my channel somewhere. So I just pasted the Discord link in the chat. Should also be in the description of my channel. So if you want, you can talk to me about stuff. Discord link in the chat. So if you want, you can. Yeah, if you want, you can talk to me about that stuff, even when I'm not streaming. But I might not be always online, of course. I still need to install Discord on my telephone, my cell phone. So yeah, today we implemented tile variations, which basically means that every tile has a chance to be some other random tile. Oh yeah, one other thing I need to do is to I need to add some kind of boolean in the tile data to determine if random terrain, if random tile variants should be picked, because tile variants are very useful. I might like to reuse this functionality for stuff like blocks with different colors but of the same type, so that you have that you have a block like for example glass, and then you can use dyes to change the color. It will be the same type of block, but it will have different metadata. It will be a different tile variant. So for those blocks you want to store the data as some kind of tiny integer, or maybe inside the ushort of the tile type, just like Minecraft does it with metadata. Then you can reuse this functionality. So yeah, that's what we worked on today. I'm going to have lunch now, and then I'm going to go somewhere else. Maybe in the afternoon I'll be streaming, maybe not. I wish you all a very nice day, and I'll end the stream here.